Siles doesn't need any presentation. Raul Siles is the founder and senior security analyst at DynaSec. For a 1 decade, he has applied his expertise performing advanced technical security services. Thank you very much, Roman. I'm now ready for this round of applauses, but not for last year's applauses. As Roberto said, this is only for you, and by you, this is the real motivation and motive for me to be here. There has been a lot of influence over the last days regarding the Goya's award celebrations and prizes. I got some references from the movies, and it fits in perfectly. So, I aim with this presentation, I aim at enjoying a fun time to enlighten ourselves from the technological viewpoint and to get some reflections on it. There are many elements related to this movie, to this story. I'm gonna explain to you and report to you over the next hour. It can affect my future and your future in the coming months and years, and we need to get some reflection on it towards we are addressing our initiatives. So let's first analyze the market vulnerabilities, what is the current situation in which we can get involved, and very briefly, introduction about who Apple is, what their features are, and let's focus on it. So finally, let's analyze one single vulnerability and remember it in the very end, how we can defend ourselves and stand up for our rights, because the defensive stuff area is for us to be better protected towards these attempts of attacks. From a vulnerability research and markets viewpoint, when you are getting involved in these issues, is the one I'm going to introduce you. Before anything, without further ado, I move on to explain to you the management of information vulnerabilities, and especially their implications in our economy, finance, household, domestic things, and so on. Before further ado, it's the very first time I'm going to use the word cyber. When we talk about cyber weapons, they made a mistake and reflect upon it. They talk about cyber weapons and they said there were short-lived cyber weapons. If I find an exploit or vulnerability, but which is useless, what fuck out. This should be a shitty cyber weapons. Cyber weapons are not like this. This is cyber ammunition. What or who are cyber weapons? You are the cyber weapons. Be very careful. Mind your words, because when you start thinking about this thing, you are going to start changing your perspective of life, because you aren't cyber soldiers. You are civilians, because you live like civilians, but you are the cyber weapons that can find a vulnerability and an exploit. For those who do pen testing, you don't find 0 days and you generate exploits for it, because you don't have time for you to do so. During the reach and the time of the test, you exploit vulnerabilities found by others or the weaknesses from others. So think about it. When this thought become interior and intimate to yourself, you first need to know who is going to buy from you these cyber weapons, your cyber creations. You need firstly two groups. One thing is the black market, which are criminals and gangsters. No, none of you please go inside. This is dangerous. You make your own ethical decisions. The other group is the public markets. Many elements involved. Brokers moving the vulnerabilities and getting a commission from it, market, and we also have private security companies which improve their products based upon these elements and contributors, and these are taken from a legal viewpoint. Thanks to a lot of legal statistics and public figures, if they are paying $2 million by 25 vulnerabilities per year. The very second thing you have to think on is what am I using this vulnerability for or exploit I found? What legal implications, because it can compromise all the vulnerable systems in the all over the world, and societies won't know about these vulnerabilities, which this can impact us. And according to certain studies and surveys, and I do recommend you to check them, the vulnerability has a short life of 51 years, and there is an average of 100. So there is a market behind this, and we have to assume we are getting involved because many people know how to get us exploited without knowing ourselves and the very mere industry. Some very interesting papers for last December. As a researcher, I have performed responsible disclosure. Did you realize when Microsoft representative came here, they talk about coordination in disclosing, or coordinative disclosure from what point of view, from Roman, from organization's viewpoint. Every person has a certain different levels of responsibilities and accountability. That's why they are talking about coordination. What can a researcher do about it? Nothing. You can find run into some vulnerabilities within this line. I'm fed up with reporting. It's useless. It's nonsense. I'm doing anything because these get implications involved for you. This means somebody else can find it because you didn't help him out of the situation to find it. Sometimes these American movies, scary movies, scream movies. I know what you did last summer. I know your vulnerability. You've came across last summer, and this is threatening you and tracking down you because you don't have a normal life because you saw at a certain moment in your life something abnormal. This would be the very first one, vulnerability. Second, notification is the coordination when notifying this product to your vendor. So more and more, this information, this knowledge is very valuable, and researchers have used to doing badly. We like sleeping, paying our bills. This is not a bad habit. We want some counter actions for our efforts. They want to get some benefits from these activities. Another important issue is full disclosure, which motivates vendors to act to fix it. Motivations can come from different hosts, but implies full disclosure. Or we can sell them and we get some sellers recompense with bounties, back bounties, and we also get markers we have talked about before. This is money. This is about money. Some of them are exclusive between them. We can end up being presented this disclosure in a security conference, and then we can mix up different options. Until now, I have did responsible coordination when I reported the vendor about these issues, but 2 years ago, I said to myself that from an investigation and research viewpoint, you have to explore what is going on in the vulnerability markets. If you put on somebody there, if there is somebody behind the scenes, if that person can buy it, that was my ideas around my project. I can tell you the vulnerability I'm going to explain to you has been in one of this market, and I said to yourself that these are very direct markets. They want remote execution of code, exploitation of privileges, and by far information leaks of memory zones to be able to trigger an exploit. They want to lose their time or waste it in different other things. That's my experience. There may be other experiences from you. This vulnerability has been living for the last 2 years in the private area, and it's going to be released. Let's put it into brackets. To keep it private implies a lot of effort from ourselves. How am I saying this? How am I going to release this vulnerability? NSA is spying on us. We did know this from a long time ago when the current technology doesn't exist. I'm now trusting my government, I said my country. I mean Spain. I don't mean the politician. I mean the law enforcement, police officers who have to stand up for my rights, my family, my acknowledgements and acquaintances. But what happens with their allies? NSA is an ally to Europe and other countries. There have been many conflicts ongoing on. There may what are the problems in these vulnerability programs? Something you can put there can get back upon you and attack you. Be careful of this. The very first moment was the series of social event impacting on us, and this was the fifth anniversary of the rooted.com. What should I bring forward with me to the rooted.com fifth anniversary? When you have this kind of vulnerabilities, what happens is somebody end up finding it. So this the vulnerability value, which is information, it is totally private and unknown. This value would be lost. How long can anybody found it? 151 days, 2 years? And when you confront and tackle the program, you don't have to reveal a lot of information because somebody can find it and can exploit it by the mere fact that they know they exist. This is the most heavy going part of this presentation. I want you to reflect on it on all these aspects. When you go through the whole process, you think about it every single day about the last 2 years. My own experience said to me that many vendors don't take this experience as a serious thing. Last year, I presented the story, the wireless entrepreneurial company networks, and they are totally exploitable. And the intrusion tests demonstrate that we have 100% success. This is cool for this kind of people, unfortunately. Some weeks ago, before my preparation of Rooted.com, I asked on Twitter about the security community. What do you think about this? Let's imagine that a vendor with no bound banting, how soon he should be notified about presenting the vulnerability in a conference. They could have, Tarasco brothers could have answered back me as Galician people. It depends on, it depends on, it depends on. It depends on the size of the vendor, the type of body of the researcher, or how soon they respond back to you, how frequent they converse with you, how can impact on you of criticicity. So the conclusion I drew out of it is that Etzer has this policy and Mitos has this another policy and so on and so on. In the meantime, and we got to the rooted.com with a Z and they changed their own policies inside. So on Dynasec, I told myself, okay, since the need disclosure vulnerability policies are like the asses or buttons, everybody has an ass, so we are make up one of these policies. So it was 1 year and 1 month as the criminal sentences, the notification policies. So the 6th of December I notified Apple of this situation. I wanted to think that we don't care about, there is no regulation. One person and says something different from others, different policies go with no joining together. Difficult for us to further forward this way. With this point and tenets, we stop thinking about the reflection and we move to the Apple iOS state of the art. Apple has an internal document associated iPhone and iPad in businesses. It is not clear if the information is for your business or for the Apple business, for all the Apple devices, services sold by them, markets and stuff like this. But I can give you some figures. Over the last quarter of 2014, they have sold a lot of millions of Apple's iPads. They have get 57 million Americans. So many of them are coming from services. The net benefit is 30 billions, and the total they have accumulated 65 billions of benefits through the apps, and 50 have moved forward to developers since the very beginning of the App Store and mobile devices. Is this Apple look like? So it's like this. What's it like? These people have a lot of money they can invest on security. This is the document I referred to. I ask you to have a look at this. Apple security document has been recently updated where they release the implementation of Touch ID, the digital footprint screen reader, and so on. They told us about the elements of the platform. I want to tell you something about the system software authorization. That's the way they call it. Apple says on this document, this device is available. Firstly, what is it for? To prevent devices from being downgraded. An attacker with a physical possession of this device cannot exploit uh, all vulnerabilities that have been solved in new vulnerabilities. How many of you have outloaded your versions Apple's devices? Is it true? Is it true or not? What is the incorrect assertion coming from this paragraph? If you take your devices and you downgraded the version, should it be done? What happens? What's going on wrong with here?
De que un atacante haga eso y explote una vulnerabilidad, sí, que explote la...
We risk an attacker can do so. What are the attackers' proposals? What do attacks do with this from your device? The attacker wants to get the data, your credential from the devices. What happens when you install an old version of this device? First, you do a wipe of data. This is false. What they didn't allow you to downgrade your version because you do a jailbreak to the device. It's a jailbreak on the device. As Alex says, you can install application you should not be able to install, with which you said you are losing money from their Apple Store model business, and they wanted to protect it. That's the message we're receiving from them. So updates, you really know about it. Updates can be done iTunes on USB or wireless over the air procedure. During this process, Apple has created this system of software authorization service, which takes certain cryptographic hashes from the operating system, from the low-level bootloader kernel and the operating system image, and non-aleatory or random value to identify individually and uniquely your specific system. This is sent back to Apple to be validated with the aim of Apple being remotely authorizing an operating system version depending on its function. You can only set up the latest release version. You have a period, a 24-hour period of installation, but the latest one is the only one you can install. What is interesting here, they sent us an OS and an operating system identifier. We encrypted through the device. Every one of us has to obtain specific encrypted identifying information for my specific device per intent. Every intent requires this aleatory random value. What happens here? Apple verifies if you can install this version in the device. This is been done from iPhone 3GS. Only was used the identifier for devices in that time, and it's customized. And period. That's it. What do researchers do over this time? They have tried to download the operating system with these encrypted hashes called HHS blocks, and the APT tickets interbeing, which is the random value which makes installation to be unique. This authorization given by Apple. Various tools and various techniques and researchers. So they simulate the man-in-the-middle attack. I simulate to be this. Before this simulator, I try to keep this information for you to use it in the future. When the AP ticket is not used, everything was okay. But now every setup is unique, so we have trouble doing. So that's the idea. You can get more information out of it. You have an internal server on Apple servers where you can get some old versions for debugging issues. It should be interesting for you to access this. Very briefly, the iPhone software IPS W files. They have a vil manifest with the list of the contained files, and this is signed concerning the SHAS blobs. You send this information to Apple, which is authorized by Apple. They send you back the SHAS blobs. Your customized image is for you and is installed. That's the function. See, new tickets, AP tickets, were included for people to impede them making a cache, especially the encrypted validation value, and that's it, period. What what's going on with this? As of today, latest Apple's devices, you cannot downgrade, you cannot down the version, especially in devices where I can use an exploit from uBloin, like Limerick, to manipulate the AP ticket and the SSH blobs and use it. But to sum it, it's not feasible. You cannot do it. To sum up, you can see several combinations of devices can be used depending on what versions. With all of these, can we manipulate the iOS update process? Do you know any other operating system control so much on what you can update or not regarding their devices with so many restrictions, with so many implemented mechanisms? Any of you knows such a limited and restricted operating system regarding releases? Apple is doing a lot of business. They're doing jailbreak, and it's logical from his or their business viewpoint. I wanted to have it clear in your mind. Can we manipulate the process of manipulations without another boot run exploit, which is the very first element to be executed as firmware level, and where we could be controlling the whole running control? What happened on iOS 5? They introduced the idea of updating over the air wirelessly, and you can go to the setting and see if there are new releases, and you can synchronize and do backups with iTunes over your Wi-Fi networks, and you can perform backups any cloud. They're telling the user, and because users ask for it, they don't have to plug in the USB wirelessly. I can transfer all the data, and the user will get used to it. It's okay. It's okay. If you research how this is checked, you discover that it's USTP instead of HTTPS. Images, IPS, W firmware are verified by Apple for nobody to execute forbidden code, because this is the server you can see on screen, where you find Pilix Apple XML format from Apple, where we had pointers, references to all the available versions in all the loadable and servers. Of course, that's the main idea. This is the name of the file, software updating XML, where you can find the documentation file. When it started being used in version 5, first updates through the wireless part was the betas from version 5, and then version 5.0 available for the audience, and then the betas from this one. Let's see now in detail how this update process works. I have my iPhone, my iPad. I first send a head request. In version 5, the user agent is a variable hanging around from this, and the product name appears there in percentages when the associated value should appear there. 6 head request, that's the value. I get a response. This person is going to check the modification date. If there is an updated document with releases, I will downgrade it and download it. That's the main idea. They're telling me, what do you mean by if there is the latest one? I'm asking the same document with get. Is a typical caching schema in HTTP. If it's requested with get, I get the same document with the same date on the head, which contains all the XML file, which is signed, and the same applies to the documentation file. This is it. Can we manipulate it? What do you think about it? A SIM, HTTP gets, this looks like you can touch it and manipulate it. Am I correct? So let's move on to the lower realm. What can we touch here? We can touch the dates. Let's play around with dates. Move on forward. The head, last modified date, head. So your turn is up. Star Wars or Matrix? Star Wars. There you go. Matrix. There are many more from Matrix. We are people from Star Wars are older. So youngers came here with Matrix pull over. My goodness. The problem is, as we'll see, which of them is better from an offensive viewpoint. How can we exploit this vulnerability? One way from the last year is Wi-Fi vulnerabilities. Myself with the access point, we saw it on a rooted lot from this year. It forced devices to connect on me, and they launch a man-in-the-middle attack. Another tool we can use for this can be called this, well, Eostia. Eostia, yes, stupid, last year, Eostia. EOS, I have indices of updates. Eostia. Gosh, or fuck off in English. Fuck, have indices or suspicions of updates. No, it will be called iProxy, which is a very, very normal name. It's a man-in-the-middle tool by using Twisted, which is in twistedmatrix.com. What a coincidence. It's a library based upon Python events using the script in between, in the middle, and it's implementing the tools Star Wars and Matrix. Please bear in mind that this is coming from 2 years ago, and Star Wars and Matrix, I have some destiny about the presentation of these two things in the Goya Awards scene and theater. What are we going to do with Star Wars? Which is the coolest attack of Star Wars? Which is the coolest attack with no lasers in between? Okay, let me help you out. Jedi's. These are not the answers you were looking for. These are not the updates you were looking for. Period. You don't need any more. How can you implement it? Very simply. HTTP scamming, the very first thing you come up with is to block the traffic. I reject the request if I'm the man in the middle. That doesn't work because if the head doesn't arrive and sends back a head, so it's not working properly. When the get arrives, I can also block it and I can avoid it. But what's the main problem? If I block it, the iOS has a message seen by the user. I can check the update. What option do I have as best? I can play with the head from the date. The date head and modify. Let's put it back in the past and let's sneak it in through. This is the main idea. I'll show you this video. Watch this video. It's a small one, but I zoom in where I can find the devices, the proxy with blob in the middle. This is pointing at the proxy. We can see that the device requires updates. He asks me to send the IT we thought of. We got a response. Apple says this is 20 January 2014 latest update. We can see this update. The device having another one would ask through get. Okay, there is one news. Please send it back to me. This is a new date regarding the one you have, and they would receive it. We can see timeout when you receive it. This is going to generate to trigger a mistake from the 20th of January, and it said that this version 7.0. timeout crosses through, I do the doc and mistakes on screen. This is not wanted by us. So we launch the attack with iProxy. This is a very important thing. Let's go back in time. This device is on version 613. The latest one is 704. So let's go with the proxy with the attack with Jedi -A, which is Jedi option Star Wars. This is my numeration, my version, and I launch the attack. I take blip and go through proxy to manage this traffic. What is going to happen now? The attack is launched, and it's going to manipulate the date of the proxy when the device. We are attacking the Star Wars, so the device acts the get for us. The proxy is in between, and the proxy has says the latest comes from the 31st of December 2010. I have a newest one, so I won't get you the get, and it's gonna tell us the moment we get it through us. The device is updated. There we go. It's the latest version telling me the oldest one. Whenever I'm asking if I'm in the middle, it's gonna tell me it comes from 2010, the oldest one. So now I'm updated. Till here, the Star Wars attack. There is an oldest version. Don't worry about it. 1 second, 1 second, please. There you go. So this is the very first phase you get. Oh my goodness, this can get so easily manipulated. Oh my goodness. There you go. Yes, it is like this. Second option, the coolest one, the Matrix option. What is going on with Matrix? One of the typical scenes from Matrix. One is the coolest. I feel it. I feel like Morpheus. I'm older, so here they are. The newbies are here. Morpheus offer the red or the blue pill. You have to choose one. It's your last opportunity. Choose it. No turning point back. If you take the blue one, the story is finished. You get out from the bed. You can think about what you like. And if you take the red one, you're gonna move to Appleland, not Wonderland, but Appleland. Let's see how far this can go. What is it going on? Instead of telling you this slide, let's see it on this demo. What is going on? If we change iProxy, I'm gonna tell them let's attack with the -A action type matrix instead of Jedi. And this is going to trigger the situation when the petition head is done. Go to matrix. There is a modern option. Request the get. They will encourage to get the get, but they will give us a different date by default. I have an option here to tell us the update is coming from September 2015. The future, the device will get connected and is over there with their updates. They had this request, and there is one from 2015, as you can see on the request, and it's even better because it's the value by default from 2020. Give me the get, and there is a newest one, and this is the funny thing. We're in the middle. This update is from September 2015, and I can pass it on a new value within the file or folder, whatever I like. This is this. What is it? What is this? This file cannot be modified because it has integrity signed digitally by Apple. What can I do? I can do replay attacks as usual. I can take an old one from the old version 613, and I can get a new one, and it's next in thread. What can I say now? The one we send is from version September 2015 613, but here only reaches 613. What is going on from now This is matrix. Permanently, we take the proxy and we move on from this attack. And when the device checks if there is a new version, he will send a head and he will get the response with the date of January 2014 when I have a date from September 2015 and it's updated.
Dejamos esto aquí un momentito. ¿Vale? Esto para iOS 5 y 6, claro.
So, this is your face right now. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be this way. How is it possible on Earth? This happened with iOS 5.7.6 and you need this all XML files. So one fucking work of this thing is you have to recompile and collect all the XML files from Apple when they publish a new update and store them in the tool itself. This is okay to finally entertaining. They release iOS 7.x, and on this version there is no head. They request a get, and the petition head disappears. Period. Vulnerability cannot be used. They screwed it up. They request a get. What has changed from this get, from the previous one, from the 6 ones? For those who pay attention to me, what is new on this request?
Exacto. El if modify since, en la fecha de si se ha modificado.
Modify 6, the date has changed. If it has been any modification in the date, send me one again, a new one. For those who know about catching ATPP. So this day, the very first implication is that that on iOS 7, I know the last update date. Thank you very much, because I didn't know this before. What else supposedly can I say about it? If there is no posterior update, Apple do 304. With a new update, this date doesn't influence, so response 200, and I'll send you the new update. It's the same behavior as before. The Star Wars or Matrix, there's the point. Temporary attacks or permanent attacks. There you go, that's the point. So let's go back on it. We have again the situation where we have the likelihood and possibility to perform a Star Wars and attack and the Matrix attacks. So let's rush to it. I go to the device instead of an iPad. I have an iPhone, and I ask or request a get. Let's follow the get. I request a get as of 22 of October 2013. Apple response have a newest one at this moment at a time, which is as of January 20th, 2014, that on the temporizer, the timer, the mistake appears. And this device is on the 703. There is a newest one, the latest one. I want to try keep it forward, move it forward. So I perform the Jedi attack consistent of sending what should I send them? 304. That's my send it back. I move forward and I turn on the proxy that they ask the get. In the meantime, I send it 304, which is not modified. Everything's keep it right. I'm on the version 7, but there are the previous ones. And follow. What happens with the matrix attacks? I can date it or not. If not, they will use the date by voucher, perhaps 2020 in the future, and I can follow on attacking matrix when they request a get from October last year, because I'm in the middle. I tell them this is from December 2020, but in the request of the update, I change the value that Apple is giving me 704, and I'm gonna send back your file to 703. So this one sent is the one from 703, as you can see on screen, but the device from now on we takes the middle proxy and we leave it there, and as a result of it, we get that when it's going to check a new update, as we can expect it, they request it as of December 2020, Back to the Future, and Apple says back to us, I don't have an update as of December 2020. So the attack keeps going and functioning.
El truco del 304 no funciona en iOS 6, ¿vale?
Trick to 304 is not working. The matrix attack is working properly. Conclusions we can reach. This vulnerability affects iOS 5 through 7 up to the latest version. Please, iOS 5 is free from 2011. I answer back between these versions 5 and 7, and in the very end, it's a lot of work to check that it's working, and to get the files released by Apple. But in the meantime, you can see if this is keeping going and going and going and being vulnerable. Thanks to this, you can notice that Trace attacks very well care of plan. I can say I can attack the iPhone owner of this company with the Wi-Fi vulnerabilities. I modified his latest version. I wait and I keep him frozen the current version. When a new iOS version triggers, I can exploit it. That would be the main idea underlying the whole process. I can do it in a persistent way, keep it in the very same version, but I can also say very stealthy attacks, very silent attacks. I can inverse the frozen attack, and I can put on the previous date, and you'll get updated without knowing anything. That in the meantime, unless you are saying that the latest version 706 is released, my device said it has the latest one, except for these cases. It's a very interesting point. The only way to jump off this situation or scenario is because we cannot downgrade the version. You can only freeze your current version via iTunes checking on the other side. So iTunes, when you pitch in the USB in, it detects that something is there in the version. It doesn't change the integrity of the device. How can I use it? There is a public usage which is not associated with security, which has to do with people that when iOS 7 was free, they weren't happy with the intergraphic interface, so they tried to download the new update. So they saw a new update, they downloaded, and they wanted to set it up. They download the iOS 7 to your update of 7 gigs. The update took 1 gig, and you lost 1 gig on your hard disk. I don't want iOS 7 taking running up in my device. This is a useful purpose for this vulnerability from an exploitation viewpoint. In a defensive way, I can freeze somebody's device and wait for a vulnerability in the next version. What does it sound like this? Oh my goodness, this sounds to go to fail. Get to fail. 06. 6 of February, Apple is notified by this, but the 21st February, they released an update of 706 for iOS not being supported from a long time ago for 3Gs, and 706 for the rest of them, for the remaining parts, or X Mavericks also vulnerable. They don't release the vulnerability update. So anyone we can conclude out of this remarks, they can intercept all the HTTP traffic in a very silent way. That's the main underlying idea. What is this history of this vulnerability? It was discovered in 2012, 2 years and several days. Some researchers helped me out in the very initial points. Saudi from Syria, because he has an original CML's copy which came for my original testing 16, it was notified to Apple, automatic notification back from Apple. The 14th of February, Apple told me, you can do this persistently. How is it going? What's it like? I will give you more details if you change this, you make it persistently, and I got thanks for this clarification and the set period. Have you been ever notified by Apple after this? Not myself, neither myself. Last Saturday, 1 week ago, was my iPad, which was a compromised victim, did PIM. You have a new update, the 706 update. Oh, Apple has touched the service because it was compromised and they saw the update. They didn't tell me anything, but there's something more severe. They have tried to screw it up. The rooted.com tried to be screwed it up and fucked up by Apple. No way, Jose. No way, Jose. You can't do such a thing.
Nada. Tranquilos, como ya tenemos...
Keep calm, since we are very experienced about this issue. I watched my demos videos before. What is the situation as of today? My iPad vulnerable says to me is 706, because I told them back, okay, it's infected. I started looking, what did Apple do in their servers? They modified the way when they get the head from iOS 7. If it's not the modified thing of it, the date is from the future, the back to the future. In this very case, go to fail, and it sends and 200 OK the update because they are putting a future date back in the future to mitigate the problem in a approximately way, but it's not the way to tackle this issue. Are attacks possible as of today with the change done by Apple? iOS 7.6, since we didn't send the head and modified themes, they cannot see what they are asking from them. So these vulnerabilities attacks are perfectly feasible. The iOS 7 from 304 StarWorks, because I can send the StarWorks attack, but matrix attacks is not attackable and sendable until the infinite until 2020. I cannot do so, but I can proceed to do so temporarily. I can tell them until then the very next update, because if update release an update in 1 week and you are in the process of updating, I can leave you there. But this has a tiny glitch or problem. If your device saw the update, those of you who saw and watch Matrix, what happened with the glitches in the Matrix, with this failure, little tiny failures in the Matrix movie? Did you remember the sequence of the cat moving twice? That can happen on your device because they saw your update, but they attack you before installing the updates. In the settings, you can see an update in general. In software update, there's also an update, but here there's no update at all. Period. It stays there, just in the middle, halfway. They start at a certain moment in time. That's why the ball is there. Please let me show it, and with this I will wrap up. In reality, in real time, I have another device which is not this iPad, it's an iPhone tested, on which you're gonna see there is going to be connected on the internet. And in this one, it seems I wasn't very ambitious in the previous attack because I put 2020 in the previous one. When Apple saw it, I was handed. But in this one, I put a closer date, and I will show you for you to see that this is an iPhone connected to this access point over here. And here, there we go. There we go. Let's focus. Let's zoom in. Let's move to general. There is not software update. There is no proxy between it. It's going to the internet on its own. Let's go to software updates, checking the update. And what it is telling us, 704 is latest version, when it should say that is 706 should be this. But because I put in a date which is not to the future, I'm attacking right now and type in this date -1 minute, and you think that you have this version until the next one. I don't know if Apple's things they have sorted out this problem, but if they should they contact the researchers, they must be getting many more feedbacks from us. Let's reflect on it. Last 2 minutes, please. Apple released this in 2011. It was not in 1970. Now we are in 2014. Do you remember that Apple mounted the system software authorization in order to not allow you to do downgrades? And now they're performing this implementation, this shitting thing for the app. This is nonsense. It makes no sense since the very beginning. Why didn't you use HTTPS since inception? It's because they trusted their integrity verification system a lot through HTTPS. What's the real reason underneath? On the other hand, why aren't they doing so to the checks, to the verifications before the massive downloads of files? Why don't they do using the PIN certification process for another extra level of security due to performance reasons? Because they have many teams and computers downloading this infos. Why won't tell the checks from the real downloading of the file going through HTTPS and the other for the HTTP? Is the conspiracy theory an option? Is like go to fail? How is it going? How is it possible to go be that? This is not going through a process design process, testing process for them to say this can be manipulated or is leave it there on purpose. This is freaky, and flipping. How can we protect ourselves from it? You have mobile management solutions when you make sure that all your mobile devices are connected with the latest version. If not, it's suspicious. But this is the main idea underlying HTTPS, as we don't learn from the past. So, what is the real impact now in the present? The real impact is how many people or NSA people can I get infected with a simple vulnerability. I didn't have to create any inverse engineering or jailbreak promoting doing things and investing a lot of time in this. In 2 year time, with the million devices, with relevant people using Apple devices with the critical information, by freezing their devices temporarily, permanently, to exploit other vulnerabilities such as the 197s of iOS 6, iOS 7, and other vulnerabilities in the intermediate versions without users being notified by this. This is a serious issue, to be honest. There's one single exception where when the users can be noticed about this over the last 2 years. Which are they? They can pay attention, but there's one more evident option when they change from iOS 6 to iOS 7. If you don't realize that the whole operating system has changed, we got a problem, a big problem, a big issue. The icons, the lookalikes are totally different. This is the only possible case scenario. So, one last reflection. This is the world we live in, overly dependent on technology, highly sophisticated, but it's still immature and very vulnerable in 2014. These are my credits for people who have been contributed with me over the last year. I do really thank you for your collaboration, your freak shares, and now I will open a round of questions. Thank you very much for your attention and your attendance. It's been a real pleasure to share this time with you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
No, quito la música, por ahí.
Music lingering on in the ambience. Due to time restrictions, I'll be around this area, so should you have any questions, you can come closer. Thank you very much for your presentation. You referred to the NSA report on the figure, of the current vulnerabilities. What do you think about, out of your experience, regarding the proposal coming from the head of ISIS lab of creating a bounty well system, and the vulnerabilities coming out from the market paid by the manufacturers? The second link of the slide, we are promoting this thing you mentioned. They say to us, even with the vulnerability price now paid in the black market, it would be more profitable for companies due to the short percentage that it means regarding all their incomes, and we saw the Apple figures, to pay in a coordinated way the researchers for these vulnerabilities, and nobody is selling these vulnerabilities in the black market to the criminals. I think this is on the side of the researchers. I encourage this proposal because we devote many hours. I hope researchers get some money out of it, but as a proposal, it's okay for me. I can still find they're going to convince vendors and manufacturers of doing so. That would be the summary. I wish. I wish they could. So brilliant. Afterwards, I will be around the corridor for answering your questions. Thank you very much for your attention.